What's up? What's up? What's up? Welcome back into the Orange Zone podcast, the award-winning Orange Zone podcast. A reminder, you can find every episode on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you want to listen in. You can also find every episode on our CNY Central YouTube page if you're watching. What's up from the Sky Cam? How we doing?
What's up?
New episodes released every Wednesday. We invite you to like, comment, and subscribe for more Orange Zone content. So I'm Tommy Sladek. We have Samantha Croston. We have Brendon Hodges back on the producer mic. We had a little bit of a hiatus on vacation, but we're back in it today, and we're getting into what was the big story here in early July, which was LeQuint Allen resolution and that he is returning to Syracuse football. We'll also be getting into Dyaisha Fair, named a Team USA. We have some notes on a new tournament in women's college basketball. That is not the NCAA tournament. It's not the WNIT. What does that mean? Because that was our big question. So we'll be answering that and then getting into a little bit of the ACC football kickoff next week, how fans will be able to tune in. We have Boeheim's Army. There's a lot going on. It's nice. But Sam, I'll open it up to you. Fresh off of vacay, how we feeling? You feeling juiced? You feeling refreshed?
I was going to say, is anyone going to ask me the highlights of my vacation? Because I feel like that's where we should start.
Should we do a top 10 list and try to rank? You brought us in on the top 10 ranked, and we had to try to pick it.
Wait, you know what my best moment was since being back from vacation?
What?
Was when in the 2:30 meeting, Sean asked you if you're going to be running any highlights for your upcoming sportscast, and Tommy starts talking about his time at the beach.
Okay, I want to adjust that. It was asked right after. I had been off for a bit. Felt great, by the way. Thanks for asking. And we had come back, and he was like, hey, any highlights? And I said, well, the beach was great. And then he was like, no, I meant your sportscast. So little cobwebs of dust off, but I'm feeling good now.
Well, I'm so happy to hear that. And listen, I mean, I told you, but just my quick iconic moments.
Mm-hmm.
My 82-year-old grandpa hops onto a float with a couple other people in the pool. Just an awesome moment.
Legend.
Went to a wedding, and there was a drum set accompanying the DJ, and I'm a drummer. So how cool is that? He let me play a little bit, let me just kind of let it rip. So I had a great time doing that. Other than that, it was just a bunch of family time, and I cut my hair because why not?
Looks great.
Thank you.
Yeah, I bet people could probably notice if you are watching on YouTube. But Sam's got the new cut, and you were down in South Carolina too, which was pretty cool.
That's true. Charleston for a couple days,
Hot.
which was great. But
You get fried, you get sunburnt.
You don't even know the half of it, man. It's funny that you say hot because, like, the first thing that stuck out to me when I went down there, the air down there compared to Syracuse, bro, it feels like a consistent, just hot breath exhale. It's like imagine God's exhale. Like, that's how it felt the whole time.
Just
Brutal.
24/7.
24/7. Like a thick exhale of hot air. I was like, I'm not built for this. I am not built for this. My lungs aren't built for it, and my skin is definitely not built for it. I'm still peeling.
Well, I'm glad you came back to an exhale of smoke, so that's great.
Right.
So
much
who's
better.
a real winner here? Maybe South Carolina at the end of the day.
And what about you? Your highlights?
Highlights, honestly, just good time with some family. Got down at the beach. Was just I had a solid 2 days where I did nothing. Needed it. Like, truly an impossible amount of nothing. And then from there, it was off to the races, just doing a bunch of activities. And it was good. It was great. I was happy. And but had a little tiny bit of work in there because LeQuint Allen happened and it kind of went into work mode for an hour, which I was fine with just because it was the big story. And I knew that was kind of the one thing to keep track of. So we weren't able to get to it last week because we didn't have a show. But just to catch people up, the rising running back for Syracuse football, Sean Tucker, now with the Buccaneers. It was a good run, but we have the new age, the new era coming in. And so there was a lot of hype around LeQuint being in this running back position, and he was able to show flashes of it in the bowl game last year. And so Allen had originally been suspended for 2 semesters by the university because of a fight he was involved in at it sounds weird saying on-campus fight because it was South Campus, and if you know, it's very much away from, like, it wasn't like it was a fight outside of an academic building.
No.
It was apartments down on South Campus. Anyway, there was a fight. He was involved in it, and he ended up getting a 2-semester suspension, which to a lot of people that were knowledgeable of how these things worked felt that was harsh for what had transpired. He looked to appeal it. It was denied, and he actually took the next step to actually file a lawsuit. And so that was the thing we were filing, and the lawsuit was basically to fight this. And ultimately, they came to a resolution where LeQuint dropped his lawsuit, and he will be returning to the team in mid-August.
Right. Couple takeaways from this situation, because I know everyone
We've had time
is
to think
just
about it.
eager, had time to think about it, but also eager and excited to quite honestly move on from it and move past it. But a couple things that I was thinking about. Number one, I think the university realized they were being too harsh. It's as simple as that, which is why they were able to drop the settlement before it ever went to trial. The university walked it back. I think it's the right decision that they did that. There is no question that Allen violated that student code of conduct because he admitted to punching another student in the face, right? But he also said that that was after a 23-year-old student had punched him twice. That student, by the way, not charged or disciplined. So I think that, to see a little more uniformity and consistency amongst the punishments and whatnot would be great. I recognize the fact that LeQuint Allen is a student athlete, and I think that because of that, there are higher standards in place always. If you're a student athlete, you represent the university, you should be held to a higher standard. But I think a lot of people felt this was just simply too harsh of a punishment, and I'm happy to see that it worked out the way that it did. Not to mention, I think fans are just really happy about it too. This is just huge news for SU. It was a scary scene for a minute there, thinking that LeQuint Allen might not be a part of this team at all. And I really felt like not only did he look to be the clear-cut successor of Tucker when we saw him in that bowl game, but he was really giving fans a little bit of juice, a little bit of excitement when they felt like maybe there was a little bit of a bad taste in their mouth in some ways from last season.
Right, big time. And ultimately, it came down to where it wasn't like LeQuint was trying to not have any punishment. He ultimately offered his own resolutions, which were to be on disciplinary probation for the rest of his time here, to be doing more volunteer work on top of what he was already involved in. So, like, there was a list that he was proposing that was getting denied, and the 2-semester suspension was ultimately an expulsion because that would have violated his athletic scholarship. And not every kid is $85K to just fork over, especially when he be completely out of the loop, not just in athletics, but in academics. Now he's coming back. We can move forward. It's a good feeling, and we'll be seeing if there's going to be some changes maybe to that judiciary board where this shines some light on some stuff that have people scratching their head a little bit.
Just a little bit of confusion there, so we'll see.
We shall see. Before we get to Dyaisha Fair being named to Team USA, we forgot to check in with Hodges. Hodges, how we doing? The villain? How's it? Does being a villain?
How's the villain?
Does that continue in the summer, or do you take a break?
The villain was making sure he could make you guys look good on this podcast for the 2 weeks you all were relaxing.
That was really nice of
Do
him.
villains go on vacation?
I don't think they do.
No days
I think they go and like
No
sleep in a
days
coffin like a
off.
vampire and then return.
Like, for real, no days off, guys. Like, it's one of those things where you just do it. You come to work every day, you put in your dues, and then your friends go off on vacation and post all these cool pictures of their granddad on floaties or hanging out with family.
Wait, how sad is it for a villain when there's no one to villainize?
Yeah.
That's got to be a tough situation.
I mean, Rachel Culver was still here, so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well,
so
she's now a villain too. So
that's very true. Trivia Villain team. We have a very villainous question for you today.
I'm excited for that.
Nobody in the newsroom could even sniff.
Ooh, okay,
Sheesh.
fine. I think it's probably because we've been so good at it that you need to up the game, and that's fine.
Your hitting percentages are like under 200, guys.
No,
You're just trying to get him riled up right now. But
No.
honestly, Tommy was on a heater. Before we went on
He
vacation,
got 3 in a row.
he was
so
on a
what?
heater.
The man was playing tic-tac-toe, not Connect 4. and I
Nah,
play
he
Connect
was
4.
he was
wow.
Lawrence Motoning you.
No, he wasn't.
No, he wasn't.
No, he wasn't.
Nobody was.
I'm gonna
Back
say
to you
Army.
guys. Back to you
Remember
guys.
that? Army. Okay, back to us. Dyaisha Fair, the player that had, I think, a whole fan base both amped up and relieved when she announced that she would be returning for her final year of eligibility with Felicia Leggett-Jack's squad instead of going pro, which she absolutely had an opportunity to. Now she's coming back. To me, I think that means reaping some NIL deals and ultimately looking to build on last year, which in a first-year head coach's debut, there was a 20-plus win season. There was a trip to the Super 16 of the WNIT, and you could say NCAA tournament's the goal every year, absolutely, but for year one, heck yeah, that's big, and a part of that was Dyaisha Fair, what she was able to do, and she's being seen from an international level because she is now on Team USA for a 3-on-3 league happening down in Chile. Sick.
Like, how cool is that?
I know.
You know? And I think, listen, she was one of the most exciting players on that team. But I also feel like with FLJ, having it be her first year, bringing in Dyaisha Fair, I feel like when you're a first-year head coach, a lot of what you're doing for your team, but also for the fans, is just trying to establish an identity.
Right.
Who is this team going to be? And Dyaisha Fair was a big part of that. So knowing that she's coming back, I think that her playing in this 3-on-3, what is it, a league, a tournament, technically?
I think it's a tournament type thing. It's
okay.
happening down. We don't even need to get into the tournament. We're
just gonna move on.
We'll save that for a rainy day. Argument for another day. But yeah, so it'll be 3-on-3. Why they established it like that, I'm not sure. Part of it was maybe just with all the moving
There are a lot of like new
pieces.
nations leagues. You think of nations leagues, and it's more
Yeah.
of an international football or soccer term.
Mm-hmm.
Like CONCACAF Nations League, the U.S. wins that, and it's your region competing against each other for something tangible.
Right.
I don't know if it's the same thing as that, but 3v3 basketball has been on the up and up. I mean, it's in the Olympics now.
It's the big three.
Every year during the national championship weekend for the NCAA tournament, they have a 3v3 tournament from a bunch of different conferences. Guys who never played together team up, and I watched that when it was in Minneapolis a couple years ago. It was really fun.
Nice.
And it's growing in popularity, so I'm here for it.
Well, I'll tell you what I do know. By her playing in this 3v3 tournament, it's going to make her better for the upcoming season.
And put her on the map more.
And put her on the map more. If you're FLJ, that's exactly what you want.
Exactly. And she's playing with some big names: Sydney Taylor, Haley Van Lith, now with LSU. So I love that some of these big players are coming back, because it just creates such a better story heading into women's college basketball this year. And speaking of women's college basketball, the NCAA announced it is creating another women's college basketball tournament that would operate like the men's NIT as a second option for 32 teams who don't make the NCAA tournament. Breathe. Now, let's put it down simple, because I was confused. I said to myself, don't we already have a WNIT?
Like the men's NIT. Oh, so you mean like the WNIT?
The WNIT. But there is now going to be the NCAA women's tournament, the WNIT tournament, as well as this women's basketball invitational tournament. So it's a WBIT, which, I mean, I wish they switched it up a little bit, because I feel like that's just really confusing. Ultimately, you're going to have all three happening. And it's because the WNIT operates separate from the NCAA. They probably looked at it as, who doesn't want to be playing postseason basketball? Why not do it? So I guess that's what that is.
I don't like it.
You're not a fan.
I don't like it.
Why? Drop it.
Because, and I see Brendon put one of the big questions, is it a net positive or is it a negative for women's college basketball? I do think overall it's going to be a net positive, but it's going to take time, because that second big question he has is, can you see a world where both the WNIT and the WBIT exist together, essentially coexist? And I'm going to say no. I'm going to say drop the independently owned WNIT and let's just keep it to the NCAA. It's very difficult to keep both of these things open at the same time. I know it's not an exact comparison, but if you look at leagues, let's just take lacrosse, for example, pro lacrosse, right? We go across the way there. You had the MLL and the PLL for a while that were operating at the same time. It was always just a bad look. I didn't like the fact that they were operating at the same time, and eventually the MLL just dissipated. It was on its way out the door anyway. It made more sense for all the players to be playing in the same league. The reason why I don't like it is because I think by having three of these operating at the same time, is it a good thing that there are more players and more teams that can participate? Maybe, but then it feels like it kind of devalues all of the tournaments that are happening. I would actually rather it be a little more exclusive, so it feels like it's a big deal when you make it there.
Big time. And I agree with you with that completely. My biggest question is going to be, the way it's operated is you have the 64-team field and then the 32 in the NIT right after that. Is this 32 going to jump the NIT? Completely? I mean, it's also the WNIT. Is the WNIT 64?
The WNIT is 64 teams, the one that's independently owned. The WBIT that's being proposed would be a 32-team tournament.
So we're talking about
how many women's college basketball teams are there?
64, 32. I'm going to do some quick math off my head here. 128 plus 32. 160.
You do the math, it's too many teams.
That's kind of the entire Division One. I mean, not literally, but it's close to that. So you're right. It's going to be a lot, but to me, is this new 32 thing going to hop the 64 WNIT? I guess a part of it is
we're sure all three of these are happening at the same time.
What the money looks like. I don't see how it would happen differently.
I'm thinking it's going to be similar, because you have, obviously, on the men's side, NCAA tournament, NIT. But then there's also like the CBI, the College Basketball Invitational, which is that third-tier tournament. And I don't know much about it, but I want to say it runs as either a 16 or 32-team tournament, and it's a similar format, but it's that third-tier place that no team wants to be at. But if you get invited, hey, why not go?
Yeah.
But it doesn't get any coverage, though, and I think that's what Sam's point is that it devalues the product and you won't see it.
Yeah, I think that's possible, but I'm interested to see what that tier 2 is going to be, and I think it's ultimately what the school is offered money-wise, because at that point, if you're not in the March Madness, you're going to be wanting to go with what can be, not just a good thing, competitive, but also like profitable, possibly.
Right. It's both of those things at the same time. The product is a part of it, but I also just really feel like if I was a player, it would devalue the worth of getting into that tournament for me. It's almost just too much opportunity. Like there's something to be said about the fact that it's sort of an exclusive group of people who get this honor of competing in postseason play. That's the way it should feel.
I guess we'll find out how it's going to feel.
Giddy up.
All right, next March. We'll check back in then. From now, let's go to the new WNIT, to the TBT, a.k.a. the basketball tournament. TBT tournament's redundant, but it feels better to say. I don't know where I stand on that, but let's ultimately look to what's going to be happening here in the Cuse in the 315 next week. It's going to be a regional. So you have Boeheim's Army back at it. Disappointing end last year for sure. Bounced in the second round by the nerd team, Crush Nerds. Year before that, they won the whole thing. So they're very much going to be looking to get back to. You can't even just say, oh, you want to make a deep run, because you come in second. You don't get anything. So you have to win the whole thing.
You win or you don't. And it's exciting having Jimmy Boeheim there. You know that that's always going to add an additional layer of excitement for any of the fans or anyone who is following this team. I also think that everyone should keep their eyes on Matt Morgan from Cornell. I think he's a little bit of a sleeper.
Love Matt Morgan.
MVP runner-up in the Pro League in France, behind this little guy named Wemby. So I'm feeling like there's a lot going on there. I'm feeling like there's some exciting things to look forward to.
Victor Wembanyama.
And how about that guy, man?
It'll be interesting. We'll see if he gets pushed around or not. Right now, I think he could have a stellar career, but I don't see a game going well for him against Giannis or Joel Embiid right now. We'll see, but let's sidetrack him. We don't need to get into some Spurs talk right now, but if you're new to the TBT scene, it's a 64-team field, $1 million grand prize. A lot of the teams are alumni-based. So locally, we have Syracuse, which is Boeheim's Army, and then you have Blue Collar U, which is Buffalo, and they actually ended up winning the whole thing last year, which was awesome. But this team is mostly made up of Syracuse players. Jimmy Boeheim back for a second year. Rakeem Christmas back for a second year. Tyus Battle is playing for the first time, which is exciting. And then you do have a few players that are not affiliated with SU, but at this point, the fan base loves them as if they were. And one of them is Matt Morgan, who played at Cornell. And this dude is so fun to watch. And he actually did tremendous in the summer league with the Clippers from what I saw. So I would not be surprised if he ends up making a roster. But if we could have him here next week, great.
Insane, sick. And plus, I think it's also cool that, as you said, there are a lot of people here who have those Syracuse ties and connections. There are a couple players who have already played with each other.
Right.
It's always a weird feeling to be playing on a team where you don't know exactly what the chemistry is going to be like, especially since it's for a condensed period of time. I think that's cool that some of these players have some experience having played with each other before.
Big time, and a lot to relate to, and they want to make the fan base proud, and ultimately they want to get that money. So let's see if they can get that bread. First game's happening on Monday, July 24th. It was at OCC last year, and it was awesome, great environment, but they realized, like, hey, we can probably sell some more tickets, so they're moving it over to the Upstate Medical University Arena at the On Center War Memorial. Bang. That felt good. That felt good.
Quick question. How much money do you realistically think for whichever team wins this? Is this really coming out to per person?
I think it depends on what their role is, and I think they know that. So, like,
I know it's not equal.
I know it's not equal because you have the managers that are involved in it, but I would say, if I had to do some quick math here, I'd say it probably averages around $50K if I had to guess, maybe 60. But it's been at 1 million for a few years now, and I like to think they made more money. And with inflation, I'd like to see this go up to the $1.2306 million grand prize. So we'll see if they do it. But they're playing on Team Gibson. Taj Gibson played for the next affiliated team that he got going. So we'll see what happens. But I'm excited.
I'm very excited.
It's
That's cool
a
to
perfect
watch.
thing for the dog days of summer because we are in it here in CNY. And before we get out of here, producer Brendon's trivia. He says it's going to be super hard. He said the newsroom couldn't get Jack on it, so let's see if we can make it happen.
Yes, let's see if you can make anything happen, which I know you won't. 2021, we're going back to the years Boeheim's Army won the whole thing, guys.
Yeah.
The whole $1 million. They had 3 players on that team who averaged double-digit points. Part 1 of the question, name all 3 players who averaged double-digit points on the 2021 edition of Boeheim's Army. Part 2 of the question is, name the only one of those 3 to have actually played college ball at Syracuse.
I can't remember his name, but I feel like I know the guy who's the.
I know. Okay, Kiefer Sykes,
That is one of them.
and he
yes.
didn't play at Syracuse, so there's one.
But won the tournament for him that year.
Yeah, and he hit the Elam ending. The other is
Do you know the Syracuse guy?
it's either Malachi Richardson or I'm so blanking on his first name right now. It's White the Third. Why am I not thinking of it? This is embarrassing. Malachi Richardson, and then the third is going to be. Oh my gosh. He's not Syracuse, as Brendon said. He was on the team last year. I'm seeing his face in my head. Hold on. Let me lock in.
Villains don't care if you can see it in your head.
If you're watching on YouTube.
I will say Kiefer Sykes is the easiest one of these 3 to get solely because he made
Got
that
it.
last
DeAndre Kane.
No.
Is it Matt Morgan? Was he with them in 21?
Negative, Ghost Rider.
Dang it. The Syracuse player, was it Malachi Richardson?
No, it was not.
Was it White the Third?
It was not. I have a hint for the Syracuse player.
Okay.
He was drafted in the first round of the 2015 NBA draft.
Andrew White the Third.
No.
Well, no, I
feel like I know the guy who he's talking about.
it
And
was 2015 first round.
Yes.
and I can't remember his name, but I think I can see his face right now.
2015 first round. That is such a jumble in my mind of like, okay. when was
Also,
Tyus Battle
NBA
taken?
first-round
Taken?
draft picks, there is no guarantee of success. So these guys like flame out way
Yeah.
more often than like an NFL first-round draft pick does, or really any sport first-round draft pick. MLB, you don't hear about them for the next 5 years because they're playing in the farm system. NBA, they're playing right away or they're done.
It wasn't Tyler Ennis because I don't think he was on the team 2 years ago.
Are you asking me that?
Yeah.
It is not Tyler Ennis.
Can we get the first letter of his first name?
No.
Is it an E?
Did we get the second non-Syracuse player?
Yes, Tyrese Rice.
Tyrese Rice.
Averaged 14.3 a game. He went to Boston College.
Yep. He was an Eagle. Oh, man. This is bad. My brain is jumbled.
Maybe you should have gone on that 2-week vacation, Tommy.
I know.
Sharper today.
Come on, the first letter. Please, villain, please.
You just said villain. Why would I give you anything?
Super villain.
Yes.
Okay. What's the first letter?
C.
No. Wait, no. You wouldn't be saying the last name, right? No, because
No,
MCW was
no.
in it years earlier. I don't think he was ever with Boeheim's Army. I don't think. Oh my gosh. I don't know.
Sam?
I feel like I can see the guy, but I can't think of any names right now.
Throw out a first name. Throw out any first name.
Just any first name that starts with the letter C?
Any first name that starts with the letter C.
Connor.
No.
Mike, Jerry, Dave.
No.
Oh, wait,
What?
It's just making sure.
It is Syracuse legend Chris McCullough.
Oh, my.
He averaged 13.5 points per game in the 2021 edition of the tournament. Drafted by the Brooklyn Nets, 29th overall in 2015. Anyone know anything about his NBA career?
Didn't last long. Didn't last long.
Oh,
that's bad.
I missed you guys.
That's
I missed
bad.
you.
I need to start like studying and being prepared for
It's
this.
not going to help you.
Yeah,
It will.
It's so hard to know what questions he's gonna rip out.
It will. That was good though.
That was great.
That was good though. 1 for 3. We'll take it. That's a W.
No, what? No.
It's not. It's a W. It's a W for the supervillain, producer Brendon. But good show. We'll be back next week. We know we have locked in Colgate's head coach for football as we get ready for the first week of the season. So that'll be happening sometime in August, and we'll be looking to line up some more stuff. So exciting stuff to come, but we're back better than ever. Final notes, final thought?
I know that we're still immersed in summer, but I feel like I can taste football season on the horizon, and I'm excited about it.
I'm excited too. I really am. The Orange Zone Podcast, Samantha Croston, Brendan Hodges. I'm Tommy Sladek. We're out of here. See you next week. Peace.
See ya.